begin the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Ms. Ragland, roll call, please.
Mr. Richard Primrose.
Here.
Ms. Teresa Stevenson.
Here.
Mr. Tom Sidwell.
Here.
Mr. Jimmy Sandoval.
Here.
Mr. Philip Fox.
Here.
And all are present.
All right. Next on the agenda is comment from the public, if we have. All right. Next is approval of the minutes for a regular meeting October 15th. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
We need a consent agenda first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
All right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
And Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
All right. Next is approval of minutes for our regular board meeting, October 15th. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes. Are there any additions or deletions?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes. Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Next is chairman's report. Under my report, did you want to introduce guests now so that you'll know? Or you want to wait for your report?
Well, yeah, I'll go ahead. I wanted to introduce a guest we have this evening from actually here doing the special audit, Mr. Sean Beck with the Office of State Auditor, Miss Elena Goodman from the Office of State Auditor, and Miss Audrey Jaramillo from Jaramillo Accounting Group. And so I didn't know if they would, or they can wait till my
Okay.
board report.
Welcome. Glad to have you here. The only thing I had for the chairman's report, I had one of the things that I had a request to put on our agenda for every meeting is trustees' comments, or if any trustee had a comment, they could comment at that time for a few minutes, and if it's okay, we'll put that on our agenda so that any trustee wanted to make a comment, they could. And that's all I have. Is Ms. Trujillo? Yes. Ms. Trujillo, can you hear me? Oops, I can't hear you. Are you muted? No?
press 1 to connect. Use your phone to listen and speak to the meeting.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Ricky, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Judy, you can hear me okay? Ricky, you can hear me okay? Yes, I can hear you. I don't think Ricky can hear me. I'm not sure why. Let me just call him. Okay. Something. We usually use Teams, so that might be. I'm going to call Ricky and tell him. And
Okay.
okay, can I just put you on speaker then, and you can listen and then just listen in? Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna put Ricky on speaker so that he can hear us. But hopefully that's not gonna cause a problem. So then I'll just have to. Are you getting some feedback? No. Okay, cool. But I know you're not. But is there anybody at the room getting some feedback?
No,
You can still hear me, right?
yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, so my name is Donna Trujillo from the Office of the State Auditor, and I served as the audit manager for the audit for 2023 and for 2022 as well. So the audit was released, and it's on our website right now for you all or the public to look at. However, I'm going to try and share my screen so that we can go through some of the main points of the audit, and then I'll be available to answer any questions. Ricky, do you have anything to say before I get started? It might be a little difficult because he's having some speaker. Yeah, did you have anything you wanted to say or add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. So Ricky is the deputy state auditor, and he is going to join the presentation today. Again, I think he's having some issues with his speaker, but we'll try to coordinate that in the best way we can. So anyway, the audit report was released, and you can find it on our website. Typically, I would have taken some copies over to you to take a look at, but it is available, and I'm just going to, as I said, try to share my screen so that we can all be on the same page, literally
All
and
right.
figuratively. But how do I do that? Okay, here we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the report. So let's see. Can you all see my screen?
It's
Do you all see my screen?
yes.
Okay,
It's,
great. Okay, so
not very
this is on our
legible.
website right now. Go ahead.
Can you
enlarge it?
Yeah, can you enlarge it?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I'll try that, and then I will.
There.
How does that look?
That's a
That's
little
great.
better.
Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to start with the opinion that can be found on page 3. We were engaged to audit the financial statements of the community of the college and the related statements in net position and cash flow for the year then ended, related notes to the financial statements. In addition, we were also engaged to audit the discretely presented component unit of the school, which is the foundation, as of and for the year ended June 30, 2023, and the related notes to the financial statements. So those collectively comprise the basic financial statements as listed in the table of contents. So the summary of our opinions is noted. First, the business type activities, including the budgetary comparisons for Mesalands Community College itself, is unmodified. That is also called or known as a clean opinion. So that's for the school. For the foundation, we're still at a disclaimer. So we note the issues below that that resulted in a disclaimer for the foundation. So that is next. We do not express an opinion on the accompanying financial statements. So what that means is, like, next year or for the 2024 audit, we'll have to do some extra, like, beginning balances work to start with, so I have some clean beginning balances, and then we're going to get those all, reconciled and move through the process, and hopefully, have an opinion on that for the next audit. So, in our opinion, again, a clean opinion, the accompanying financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the business type activities as of June 30, 2023, and the respective changes in financial position, and where applicable, the cash flows thereon, in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. The basis for the disclaimer is next, and as such, we were unable to confirm or verify by alternative means certain amounts in the financial statements for the foundation. So again, we're going to take another look at that for 2024 and see what we can, look at additionally. So, and I can answer questions, at the end, but we're there are some things like bank confirmations, policies, certain things that we'll take a look at and hopefully be able to move from the disclaimed opinion. If there are no questions on the opinion, we have two other reports. I don't know if there are any questions, but it's kind of difficult for me to see if there is. So maybe we can hold the questions till the end. That might work out better. Along with the opinion on the financial statements, we provide a report on your internal control and a report and opinion on your compliance over your federal programs, your major federal programs. Those reports are also included in the audit and can be found on page 56, and then the federal audit report on 58. So we can jump over to that. But while we're on our way, we'll just take a look at what the financial statements are looking like. So you have, your assets and deferred outflows of resources, $28,100,000. And then for the foundation, it looks like $3.9 million. For the liabilities, it's including the 13,332, 13,332,310, and we have the deferred inflows and resources as well for the liability side, giving you a total net position of $100,068. So the way this is broken out is we've got some amount restricted for capital assets. It's not restricted, it's just that part of your net position is tied up in capital assets, so it's not really available to cover any costs or expenses, so that's listed separately. Then we've got the restricted for non-expendable endowments. That includes the endowments held by the foundation for Title V and for STEM and faculty as well. And then the $2 million held with the SIC for the nursing endowments. So that leaves an unrestricted deficit of $11.5 million, whereas on the foundation side, it's $2.9 million total net position at the end of the year. You'll note that there's the $1,006,000 that the foundation is holding on behalf of the college. So here you'll see $3,006,000 is held by others, and $1,006,000 is held by the foundation. The other $2 million is with SIC, and that got transferred to SIC at the very, very end of the year. I think it was like May 27th or so, and so there wasn't a lot of activity in terms of earnings and that type of thing. Next year we will probably have some additional report regarding, the state of those and the earnings of that particular endowment. The next page is your operating revenues. So federal grants and contracts was 1.5 million. Student tuition up to 474,000. Local and state grants and contracts 1.4 million. And a little bit about that amount. That includes definitely your appropriations on those types of funds. That includes specifically the work that the school does on behalf of contracts and grants with the state. So that is that would include corrections, that would include the dual credit, that would include some of the ABE, adult basic education programs you have. So all of those are actually like earned revenues for you all versus, a state appropriation and so forth. The next item, sales and services of auxiliary enterprises, that will include the bookstore and the museum. And then gifts and grants, again, funds that came both, I think, to the museum and to the school. And then some rental revenue. You have a couple of items where I believe you have some space rented out for restaurants, I think, or those types of activities. And then some other miscellaneous operating revenues, 84,000. That probably the majority of that is coming from your museum. In terms of the foundation, we've got some gifts and grants, some rental revenue, and then other just operating revenues. There might be some additional items, most likely as we continue to expand the information available and reported on behalf of the foundation, for next year. So moving on to the expenses, you have the first four items essentially rolls up into instruction in general. And then you've got operations and maintenance of plant, student aid, auxiliary services, and so on, athletics, bad debt expense, internal services, and depreciation. So those are the items that are showing just essentially like your operating revenues and expenses. Moving down on that same schedule or that same statement, we've got non-operating revenues, and that's where you'll see the appropriations. You're going to see the endowment and capital outlay draws here, the local taxes that get transferred from the county, and then some other interest and investment income. So that leaves you, and there was also a prior period adjustment that we can talk about as we move through the disclosures. Your net position ended last year at $9,300,000 approximately, and it's ending this year at almost about $11 million. That is due to the increase in the change in that position of 1.5 million. That's this number right here, plus the restatement of fund balance or of net position, and that gives you the ending net position of approximately $11 million. Over on the foundation side, we've got some investment income showing as non-operating revenue, and then that's again the net position at the end of the year, 2.9 million for the foundation. Moving on to the cash flow statements, we've got what the cash flow statements does is it tries to kind of transition your information that you looked at. It was on the full accrual more to like a cash basis. So how much actual cash came in for some of these items. And so it's a function of not only the current year activity, but also what was on your balance sheet in the 2 years prior to the end of this fiscal year. So we look at changes in accounts receivable, changes in grants receivable, and those types of things from one year to the next to get back down to what actually on a cash flow basis the activity was for the school. So we have that for the school and also the foundation. And as the next page of the schedule is going to reconcile the net cash used for operations with your operating loss that we looked at on the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. So, okay. So moving on to the disclosures, I'm not going to walk through all of these. I'm sure you're fairly familiar with your policies and so forth. Basis of accounting, it's GAAP, full accrual, business type activities. You've got a few estimates, not too many, and we can talk about that later, but it's essentially your compensated absences and your depreciation / amortization of your capital and right to use assets. And then there's some discussion regarding your budgetary basis and the control at that level. Moving on, we talk about what the school deems to be cash and cash equivalents, what the investments, what policies or requirements, regulations are related to your investments. And so we've noted what statements, we follow in terms of valuing your investments at fair value at the end of the year versus, original purchase costs or amortized costs or any of that. We are following the full fair value measurement application for your investment. Assets held by others, as I indicated earlier, you do have some with the foundation and some with the State Investment Council, the SIC. The other item that's a bit of an estimate would be your bad debt or your allowance for doubtful accounts against your accounts receivable. So, inventory, capital assets, these are all just very consistent or have been consistent from one year to the next. The next disclosure portion talks about how your net position is broken out, and we talked about that in terms of what portion was tied up in capital assets and also restricted in terms of endowments and so forth. Revenue and recognition. Revenue recognition is identified and what is considered, as we talked about earlier, the operating revenue at the top of your statement that talks about the work that's actually performed versus the appropriations for the school. So that's what this is talking about there. And it continues on classifications expenses as well. So what you're not seeing that you might be thinking you would see, in our statement would be like salaries or, those types of things, contracts. And what we're required to, you all are required to follow is a model whereby you were looking at your expenses by function, like student activities and student affairs and those types of things. So that's what that talks about. The deferred inflows and deferred outflows, the only of those that you all have essentially to worry about would be those that are related to your GASB 68 and 75 disclosures that are related to your RHC, retiree healthcare, and pensions. So those have a function whereby the accounting requires reporting of deferred inflow and deferred outflow on your statements. And that's explain a little bit more as we follow on. And then we get to the actual detail of your statements. And what this is it's just breaking it down to a little bit more of a detail level than what you see when you look at the base of the financial statements. So the first thing you'll see is your cash and investment accounts. All of these numbers will tie to the base of your financial statements. The investments, specifically for the school, which at this point are just CDs. And then on the following page, we're looking at your pledge collateral requirements, FDIC, what your risk is in terms of, of depository insurance. And then we also break out some more information related to the investments. And again, we are reporting them at fair market value at the end of the year. And so, and all the valuations were made, using level one, which is essentially generic. Level one would be like information available to any, on the free market. What these would be sold and purchased at that point in time. So accounts receivable, you've got a few accounts receivable on your books. You've got 10,800 coming in from higher ed for the for adult basic education. You've got some amounts due from the federal programs, and then an amount some amounts due for capital draws that happen right at the end of the year. The expenses for your capital activity they are showing on your books. The corresponding receivable has not yet at this point been drawn, but it did come in soon after the beginning of the next fiscal year. So not a problem with that. Capital assets is next, and what you'll see here that's a little different from what you're used to seeing potentially is that we have another item on this in this table, and it's related to GASB 96, otherwise known as a SVITA, which is a subscription-based information technology agreements. Now, the GASB is requiring that, much like we did the implementation for GASB 87 with your leases, we're doing the same type of thing with your IT agreements. So there might be a school out there that purchases their own system and has capitalized it and continues to, build it and, build on it and, add to it, improve internally, or some other schools like you all, where you're using a system that is essentially you're purchasing the right to use it, and so in order to make consistency or have consistency between these two types of purchasing models, the one that has it internally and capitalized and appreciated versus what we have for the right to use assets, which is it's a function of an imputed interest rate and your payments over the course of the agreement. So that's why this statement looks a little different than what it has in the past. You'll note your additions, retirements, adjustments, and then the ending balance, which again will tie to the face of your financial statements. Moving on to your compensated absences, not too different, not too much to note in this area. We have some breakdown of some short-term liabilities, student activity funds, accounts payable, accrued expenses. So those are all following and provide additional information that will help, if you're doing some analysis for the for whatever purposes. So this has additional information. Okay, your loans payable comes next. This is a little different because you were granted like a waiver for 2023 and then paid the loan off from Board of Finance in 2024, I'm sorry, fiscal year 2024. So the entire amount is reported as short term since it's getting paid out this year, or it already got paid out. And so that probably will be gone for next year. Note 9 talks about your leases and subscription, the SPITAs I was talking about earlier, and that will give you a breakdown of information related to that. That is next. So the SPITA has two components to it. It's got the asset component and then a liability component. So along with capitalizing the agreement, over the life of the agreement, we're also looking at what the liability is for you all in terms of short and long term. So we got a portion of 144,394 that will be paid to your when you your agreement with Genzabar. So that's how those two parts break out. We've got the 2024 portion and then 2025, and we'll continue extending it if you continue to utilize that service, then that will potentially be updated. Following on note 10 are just your state contracts. We did a lot of work related to third-party confirmation of the funds that were sent to you all. And so we felt really that was a really, I feel a big step in really identifying what the specific receipts were. And so we did look at these to make sure that they were posted ultimately correctly, and that they got deposited correctly into the bank and so forth. So all of that, I think, is going to be very helpful moving forward in keeping some of this information straight. Let's see. The next note 11 is going to talk all about your ERB, and there's required supplementary information that GASB needs to have put in the statement. So that's what shows next, is all the information. And where we get this information is the actuarial reports that ERB and RHC do annually. So that's where this information comes in, and the report itself will point you in a direction of where to go on their side to get some more information about this, the pension, the OPEB and the pension. Yep, so note 12, again, related to retirement plans and so forth. So that takes up a big section of the disclosure. So we're still going through that now. And then we get to some more information that's pretty specific. Again, we're still looking at post-employment benefits, retiree health care, and then note 14, we talk about risk management, and we note that you all participate in the New Mexico School Insurance Authority and so forth. Note 15 talks a little bit more about your endowments, and then note 16 are your subsequent events. It should be a little bit of a challenge because we're looking at it from June 30 all the way up into our report date. So that item, your note 17 also has a breakdown of that prior period adjustment that we talked about on the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balance, net position. And so that's what this breakdown is. Let's see. A required supplementary information. This information that comes next is again related to GASB 68 and 75, and it's related to post-employment benefits and pension. So that again is showing next. We've got that one was for. So now we're on to the budgetary comparison, and this one did. Have the result of preparing these statements made it clear that there was some overspend in the instruction in general category for the school. Let me see where I can see that easily. Here it is. So the budget and then your total expense, total that got expended, and then this was the change. And then it's broken out as required by ETD at different levels, restricted, unrestricted, only instruction in general. And then on page 53, I believe this is 52, is your reconciliation back to, if you look at your GAAP basis, schedule of revenue expenditures, and changes in net position, these will tie to that. So just a little bit more information as well. On the next page is information required by our office, actually, regarding your deposits in the bank, what types of deposits they are, what the balances are, what parts are subject to FDIC, and what needs to be insured or collateralized. So that's the schedule. And the CEPA breaks down your federal programs, this top part is the cluster, financial aid cluster was our major program, as well as the HERF funds, those as well were major programs. So that's what we did the compliance test work on. Those are the programs. And then the reports that I discussed, the internal control report is next. And following that, we have the federal report. So now let's go to the schedule of findings, schedule of prior year findings. Firstly, last year there was an existing for 2022 there was an existing finding for the financial closing reporting process, which is a material weakness. It is repeated and modified this year. It's we're getting better and closer. We're just still. We can talk about that as we go through the findings themselves. There was also bank reconciliations that was a repeat. Adjusting journal entries as well, a repeat. Under collateralized pledge collateral, we did repeat that as well. In terms of your federal findings, the endowment documentation, that's repeated and modified, but we did resolve the Title IV internal control administration, the ground lease Lively as well, those got resolved. And then of course we repeated and modified your late submission to the data collection of your data collection form, as well as the late submission to our office as the audit. So those for the prior year. A nice quick place to go if you'd like to just have a summary of your audit results in one place is on page 62 here, and it's called just the summary of audit results. It will indicate the type of opinion. It'll indicate whether or not we saw material weaknesses, which we did, if we had significant deficiencies, which we did, and then non-compliance materials to the financial statements noted, yes, we did. It also will tell you specifically findings for federal programs and whether or not we have material weaknesses, which we did, significant deficiencies, yes, and then the type of auditors report issued on compliance for major programs, unmodified, again, a clean, sometimes that can be confusing. Any audit findings close, there to be any audit that are required to be reported based on 2 CFR 200. That's the uniform guidance. It's the federal guidance. And yes, there was that finding. And then it will tell us as well the major programs and the threshold we use for distinguishing A and B programs. So moving on. We have the first finding, which again, financial close and reporting. It's kind of the same situation. You know, it was quite a few weeks and months after the year end that the school is ready for audit, and there were some prior period adjustments that were impacted. Just a lot of some corrections and so forth that had to be made, so that continued that finding forward. The next finding is bank reconciliations. Again, the bank reconciliation is kind of done after the year end. It's great and they need to be done, but consistently doing the reconciliations throughout the year is essentially what we're looking for. And we did see some disbursement in mileage and per diem exceptions. So there were times when we had the POs that were dated after the invoice date. One of 45 disbursements did not include a PO in the packet. We had 2 of 6 travel requests that were not submitted timely as per your own policy. So, and that's the thing with some of these other findings are going to be based on, your policy. So if you tell us this is what we're required to do, and then you're not following it, or you're going to see a finding if we come across it. So 2 of 6 travel requests reviewed were not submitted in a timely manner. 2 of the POs reviewed were created after the date of travel. And then for the reimbursement support, 2 out of 6 travel requests reviewed did not have adequate support to evidence the correct mileage reimbursement. So again, looking at your policies to your policies, and these are some of the areas, some of the things we encountered. The next finding is related to adjusting journal entries. We usually will request, a list of adjusting entries for the year, and then, review them, make sure that they were supported, make sure that they were reviewed by somebody other than the person making the entry. Want that segregation of duty, and then to make sure it was entered correctly. We were able to review quite a few, but there were some that were not available to us. So hopefully that will, continue to improve. The next finding is a budget overrun for instruction in general. We talked about that briefly when we went through the budget statement. It's that very first budget statement. You can clearly see the amount that was overrun by $745,541. So that should agree to that, to that schedule. Moving on, we have some endowment documentation. I'd really like to do some work this year and see what we can do about getting this finding kind of resolved. So hopefully, we can take care of that for next year. But this is just a repeat of a finding that you've actually had since 2021. So, and then of course, late submission to the clearinghouse. And what's next? Oh, we came across some some deposits that were not made timely, like within the 24 audit rule, that from the that's required by the Public Money Act of the state. So that can be seen in that finding. The next item is under collateralized, pledged collateral, pledged collateral. So you're required to collateralize 50% of any balances in banks that are over the FDIC amount, which is 250,000. So that's what this finding is related to. Again, it's a repeat from last year. And then the final, I believe that's the final, yes, that's the final finding is the late audit submission. The last page talks about the exit conference. We talked about all this information at the exit conference held on November 5th. That information, who attended and so forth, is on the last page of your audit report and your financial statements. So that concludes that presentation for the audit for 2023. And I'm going to stop sharing and my here and be available now for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Trujillo. Trustees, are there any questions for Ms. Trujillo? We, the state auditor, Mr. Maestas, during the exit, he did say that we have come a long ways and our stormy water is clearing. So we've made a lot of progress, and I think most of that is because of Dr. Moss and the staff here at Mesalands. So we're getting this cleared up, I think. But is there any questions specific questions for Ms. Trujillo or?
And can we start moving forward?
We are definitely moving forward.
We're gonna start moving forward now? Okay. That's all I wanted to know.
I was very pleased to be, part of the process. I appreciate all of the staff and all of your all assistance. I've seen such great, amazing, improvements and work that's being done, and it's really awesome to see so many people come together and work on the project and move it forward. So thank you so much for allowing me and my staff to be involved with the audit, and we really enjoyed working with you. So, and I know Ricky, I think he's still having trouble with his microphone, but I know that he would say the same.
Thank you, Ms. Trujillo. Appreciate all the help, all the work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. You know how to get a hold of us at any point if you have any questions.
All right.
Okay, and God willing, we'll see you for 2024.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, bye.
So next on the agenda is approval of the FY 2023 audit.
I move that we approve the audit FY 23. It's
That's the second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right. Next on the agenda is Dr. Moss's report.
So, first thing I want to kind of bring up is our audits. Keep in mind, this is 2023 audit. So, even though several of those people that were like in our business office and so on are no longer here, I think the reason we were so successful was, one, Ms. Sharmer has kind of, I don't know how else to put it, held our hand through the process, helped our business office. And, I also want to thank Ms. Arias, even though she didn't come in until 2020, this year, 2024, getting that information together for the auditor, being quick at responding, and just our business office staff really contributed to that. And we would have loved to have had a better opinion overall. Even, I mean, an unmodified is great for the college. I feel like the foundation did everything they could to provide information to the auditor. Ms. Sharmer took a lot of their financial data, compiled it in a way she thought would be appropriate. But, and if I understand correctly, it really came down to just not having their financials audited. So they're on 2020, 2021, somewhere in there. And so until they get those completely reconciled, then they're still, but they are trying. And I just want to, even though she put a disclaimer on their part of the audit, I feel like they did everything they could to get us where we needed to be. So now we'll start the 2024 audit. I'd like to take a second and introduce the members from the special audit team. Mr. Beck, or if you all want to say anything, or.
Well, I just want to thank the board for allowing us here, and we look forward to this process being as smooth as your previous audits. And hopefully the end result will be very beneficial to the board and to the college as a whole.
Thank you.
A couple updates. So I had put in my report that, you know, we went for a couple years without any RPSP funding. And so this year we really emphasized throughout the year that we are operating our nursing program without any RPSP funding. We're the only college in the state that is doing that. And so I feel like HED heard that, and so they've recommended substantial funding for our nursing program and an increase to our WIN program. I submitted a special request Wednesday to ask for some funding for this year's. So we're making it okay, by our financial report without getting any of that supplemental funding, but we're carrying the entire nursing program out of our regular ING. And so that one's a little more iffy. I've been told that higher ed institutions are usually not very successful with special appropriations, but we're going to hope that they see the reasoning for that. It's not that we won't survive the year or come out ahead, but that's funding that we would normally look to, continue supporting programs, explore something new, or even add a little bit to our very small reserve. So that's positive. We've had several meetings this past month, particularly for wind. Mr. McVeigh or Mr. Kaiser may talk a little bit about this, but we met with Leeward. Also had a meeting with Clean Up America Clean Power. I probably had that mixed up, which involved Pattern Energy and some other colleges on the eastern part of the state to look to grow the workforce. One other thing I wanted to mention too is we did get the bookstore moved. I thought maybe in a few weeks we'd get the business office moved, but when I came back this morning, they had already done a lot of the moving. So our business office, the majority of it will be here in the old bookstore, and we think that's going to work, getting everybody in the same office area as opposed to kind of scattered. And hopefully we're getting close to the end of moving, but I also want to thank our custodial and maintenance staff. They have really been doing great things the last month or so. Well, probably longer than that. Do you guys have any questions for me? Oh, Board of Nursing. Ms. Freeze and I were at the State Board of Nursing meeting yesterday, and we did get the full approval, and the warning was removed. They had put the warning on there for a couple things. One is our faculty, we had two instructors with their associates. And for a full-time faculty, you have to have a bachelor's, and so we were able to get that completed, and we addressed all their other concerns. They'll still be making visits, and there'll still be things that'll come up, but I want to thank Ms. Freeze and Mr. Kaiser and our nursing faculty and staff. And then again, we'll graduate our first cohort this fall, so that's a big success.
All right, any questions for Dr. Moss on this report?
The, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go.
The recommendations in the audit, it seems to me that we're pretty well meeting those. Is there something that's, that we may not be able to meet or?
No, I think, and so some of them, like you take the amounts that were not fully backed at the banks. I can't remember the exact terminology. You're talking about amounts that we had in 2023. And so we went back and made sure that what we have left, which is less than we had then, is done. Some of the findings deal with late submission. And so if you're not getting your 23 audit done until November of 2024, you can't help that. But we're gaining ground, and so if we can get the 24 audit done, well, I haven't heard any estimates from Mr. Hill, but I'm hopeful to get it done by maybe the end of February or March. Then we would be actually on track, and that's going to remove that finding. It's going to remove the submission. I think there's one on there for submission to the is it National Clearinghouse, which has to be done, I think, by March. So if we can get 24 done there, then some of those are already going to be taken care of. Just like the internal controls, even though we didn't have much in 22, we worked on those, and you started to see improvement on that in 23. So I don't think there's anything there that we haven't already addressed or can't address. I'm looking at Miss Arias because she's my financial expert, but
Well, you're gonna have several of them that are gonna repeat for fiscal year 24, only because, again, coming in so late, a lot of those, requirements weren't met as of June 30th of 24. So they probably won't all be removed until the 25 audit.
Okay.
But some will.
Sounds good, yeah.
Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, I'm drawing a blank. What is a PEP college?
So, PEP, I think is what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and I don't remember the exact words. We're talking about funding. Now I'm looking at Mr. Kaiser. We're talking about where we can allow federal financial aid like Pell Grant to our correction students. We have to we have to go through that process and get approval from the federal government. Actually, I should be looking at Ms. Gonzalez probably. We have to get approval for that so that so up till now, all we've been awarding our correction students is opportunity scholarship, but they had asked the corrections departments, it came from their view that opportunity is not going to be there forever, even though the state has put aside a certain amount to kind of continue to fund that. But they want their students, if they're eligible, to be able to receive Pell. And so, obviously that's a huge part of our college right now is our correction students. And so we're working on getting that.
And PEP stands for Prison Education Program.
For what?
Prison Education.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Moss? If not, we'll go on to the quarterly financial report for first quarter of 25.
So I know this looks similar to the last report that was submitted. Number one continues to be checked, and it'll continue to be that way as long as we're drawing any money from HB2. We're still currently paying Ms. Sharmer as a consulting CFO. Some amounts to Mr. David Gray, who as a controller does a lot of our reconciliations, not only in past work, but keeping us going right now while our business office is kind of overwhelmed. And then also covers some of the, I want to say maybe Ginzabar. There's a couple other things that are still going to come out of that this year. I don't foresee HB2 being rolled forward another year, but I also feel like we're operating at a level that we'll be okay. So that's basically everything else we're meeting, but we are drawing down some of those special appropriations.
Pay for the audits too?
Some of the, yeah. I want to say maybe that a separate appropriation was for the special audit, but for the 23, I'm hopeful for the 24 audit as well. So that just gives us a little bigger start on 2025. And then I keep feeling like I'm forgetting something that, but those are the main things that we're using the HB2 money for.
So that's the only check mark that we have is because we're using some of the.
And the State Board of Finance, we're even though we gave some back, we still have some of those amounts, some of the Ginzabar training that we haven't. That was the other thing I was thinking of. We still got to finish up some of that training.
Any questions for Dr. Moss on this quarterly report? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So made.
Motion and a second.
I didn't know.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, next is the October 2024, the financial report.
I'll let Ms. Arias answer other questions, but I do want to say she has spent a lot of time and effort training in the budget module in Ginzabar, and she has the budget in Ginzabar, but now we see all these things we got to fix. So that's a great step, but hopefully in the next month or two, we'll be able to see the costs compared to the budget amounts, and we can actually know with 100% certainty where we're at instead of just looking at the cash in the bank. So,
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Must be
Reports
good.
We see every so often the HED.
I'm sorry,
These reports we see every so often the HED. How often do you send them? Quarterly, weekly?
right now.
We see them. And I appreciate you sending them in Excel. Not any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 2024 financial report.
I shall move.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and the motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is academic affairs, Mr. Kaiser.
Everyone else has left the call.
Scared everyone.
We're looking everywhere.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. You have my academic affairs report. I want to start first by directing you to the upcoming events. It's a very busy week leading into our Thanksgiving break and coming back straight into finals week. These events highlight our faculty and staff supports for student success. Tomorrow, an event, Exam Slam, preparation for finals week. Just providing some guidance and support for students that need APA formatting skills or MLA formatting skills and other study skills. We also have tomorrow afternoon, our esports team is having their first live stream competition, which we're going to project that on some TVs in the student services centers. So that's going to be really exciting for our team. And we also have in the evening from 7:30 to 9 a fire dancer performance for the opening of our Iron Symposium that's currently going on as well. So a lot of activities tomorrow. Thursday, if you're on campus, we have a farrier demo by our instructor, Paul Leonard. And in this demo, he's going to actually, of course, bring in live horses. They're going to let the students do some demonstrations as well. And that'll be happening from 10 to 11 a.m. We also have a community ed workshop tied to this Iron Symposium, which is a scratch block tile workshop. So you can make your own small cast iron tile sculpture. And that'll be happening from 1 to 5 p.m. on Thursday. Friday, we're going to host a smaller, they've called it the Turkey Iron Pour, where our art department and foundry will be pouring molten iron from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you're wondering why the building looks like it's on fire Friday night around that time, they're just pouring molten iron from the furnaces. From there, we'll come back into, and we'll have finals week, December 2nd through the 5th. We also have a really amazing presentation on December 3rd, Honors College Presentation Night. This has been supported by our Education Service Center Director, Mr. Dean Garcia. And what this showcase is our students take on extra projects for research where they can actually go into some critical research and presentation skills. Again, that opportunity is Tuesday, December 3rd from 5 to 6. Please come by and support those students. There's some other events as well leading into finals week. And then we have Saturday, December 7th, the pinning ceremony for the nursing program, which will be our first cohort of students. That'll be 5 to 6 p.m. on Saturday. Again, another opportunity to come support our students and celebrate this completion of the nursing program. There's probably some other events happening. I apologize if I didn't cover those. The next item I'd like to go to, I'd like to move to, let's see, item 3B and look at some projects that we're taking on. During the last board meeting, we approved the purchase of our LMS system, Canvas, Learning Management System, Canvas, which is utilized in our digital learning platform. To give you all a sense of the timeline that's about to happen over the next month, 2 months, the Canvas IT team will work with our IT team, and we'll start to integrate Canvas into our system, providing access to our first set of users, which our user number count is going to be 200 for the initial start. And this will include students and faculty and staff that need that access. We're hoping to let our nursing students have first access. The reason for that is because they're currently using an LMS that speaks and works very well with Canvas. It's called Elsevier. Some of the learning modules drop right into Canvas. So they're going to be, I don't want to say guinea pig, but they're going to be our, they're the first team that's going in. During the summer, we'll move to a full migration, and hopefully the start of the fall 25-26 academic career will be completely on Canvas as our LMS system. So that's great news. Faculty are going to be very excited about that. IT might have headaches. That's a different story. I'll have to talk to Gary about that. Major project there. Another project I'd like to take a look at. Let's see, jumping around here. Dr. Moss mentioned our board meeting with the nursing program, and I just wanted to take a moment and express what being removed from warning status does for our nursing program. It opens up our opportunity for ASIN accreditation, and I don't think I actually have that item on this report here, but I just wanted to take a moment to speak to that, the importance of it. So ASIN, get my notes here, stands for the Accreditation Commission for Education and Nursing. And with us being on warning status, we could not actually apply for that accreditation application for our program. And now that we're removed and we have access to this platform now, we can apply. And what this will do for our graduates is it provides many opportunities when we're entering the workforce. It looks outstanding on their resume. It aids in student recruitment for the students coming into the nursing program. Also, a lot of undergraduate programs where students transfer out of Mesalands to continue their studies, they require ASIN accreditation from the inbound program. So, again, a lot of wonderful benefits from that. And of course, professional development opportunities for our faculty and staff in the nursing program. And if I understand right, after our nursing program has the results from the NCLEX, which is their final exam, the boards, right? You always hear them say they're working toward the boards. After those results are in and displayed, hopefully that'll be in the schedule coming up to the next Board of Nursing meeting. And at that point, I think we're set in a full approval status for a 2-year rotation. So if I understand that correctly, and if Shannon was here, she would probably let me know really quickly. The last item I'd like to talk about, item 3D, which is academics NMCD. So we've already mentioned a bit the prison education program, and yes, that helps our student population of corrections. It gives them more funding, access to funding. What that means for us on the academic side is prison education program status would be established at different delivery sites. So each location that we serve in the state of New Mexico, we would work toward a handbook that supports that prison education program being offered there. So, a lot of work is about to happen in that direction so we can achieve that status. Highlights from NMCD corrections also include our schedule's been posted for the 25, spring 25 term, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank Ms. Gonzalez and our enrollment team, our registration team, for putting together comprehensive training for our facilitators out there. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna help streamline the advising process so we can get those students advised in the system, in the right classes, and hopefully the books to one of the 9 locations before the start of the semester. So it's a logistical nightmare, but we're gonna make it work. We always do. But special thanks, Jessica, thank you. It's a major, major achievement for us. Recently, NMCD educators and administrators visited the campus to conduct a feasibility study on how we would bring in these students, correction students, to actually physically climb our wind tower for a workforce pathway certificate. Now, the students I'm talking about are not level 4 incarcerated students. These are most likely parolee violation students, which are being housed and supported at GCCF Santa Rosa site. And those students are usually there for 6 weeks to 8 weeks. So we looked at, again, the nuts and bolts. Can we get those students on campus, provide that quality training for the climb, and provide it in a safe, controlled manner? So having their team out here to climb with our instructor, Cheryl Stowe, was really beneficial, and it opened up a lot more conversations and questions as well. And of course, we got to work out climbing the tower as well, which is always fun. Following that meeting, Dr. Moss and myself went to GCCF in Santa Rosa to visit and meet with that facility to look at their learning site, what they could provide. We also met with some industry partners that are interested in working with Mesalands and corrections. Items discussed there, of course, the WIN, different types of certifications embedded in the WIN program. We also looked at crane and rigging certifications and CDL certifications. Not only, which I'm really excited about, not only for those parolee violation students, but the CDL talk extended to our main campus where we can actually have that conversation now about getting a truck in, without footing that full expense of buying the new truck. I would love to have a brand new Peterbilt. We're not there yet. Maybe one day. And then, of course, that opened up conversations into workforce, which is item 3E. The workforce conversations, and I'm going to jump here, and Dean, you might talk about this. Mr. Garcia might talk about this more in a second, but I've been working with Mr. Garcia in adult ed on a funding for, it's called IET funding, right? This IET funding is funding designed to support entry into workforce positions that are in high demand. And the same for corrections. When we were out talking to corrections, they were actually looking and finding out information to import their IET funding to use that for training on their side. So our campus, our IET funding project is going to focus on the CNA program and looking very specifically at activating that in the spring semester. So been working with Dean on that project, where we have different revenue streams that we can tap into to provide training for these nursing students, or no, I'm sorry, not nursing students, CNA students. It provides support for, let's say, students that might have childcare needs, so they can actually have a sitter or those needs addressed while they're in school to get these certifications. And even funding to help them get out to clinical science, so that kind of funding and support. So a lot of major projects happening that I think will help not only move the academics, but move our workforce direction on what we offer to our communities and region. I think at that point, that's all I have to cover today, and I stand for questions if you have any questions.
Any questions for, Patrick?
Yes, sir.
When we had that other president, we were working on that outfit out of Arizona that works on not works on tires, but recycles tires to make a highway, to make our highways. We wanted to talk to him to see about helping him sell the tires, but we never got a chance.
And they were taking recycle. I think it was not only tires, there were other aspects of the recycling industry that they were looking into ways that it was a packaging of recycling.
Yes.
And I'm not familiar with those contacts, but I think I remember those conversations. As far as, I'm not sure at this point that we would look to that kind of recycling. I know some of the workforce programs that we have, of course, wind technology is going to be a major workforce, CNA, phlebotomy, and I would imagine pretty soon solar will be a major conversation with our workforce as well. So I would see that happening first before we venture into, and that's just because we already have the infrastructure and some of the support to teach those and actually offer that training. Great question, thank you.
Yeah, because I gave him some information. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I found some more information the other day. I can bring it to you. You can
Sure.
look at it.
I'd love to, thank you.
A bit.
Any other questions for Mr. Kaiser? Lots of work. This is busy time. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Next is Mr. McVeigh, Student Affairs.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This evening, I'd like to go over a few highlights with student affairs, marketing, athletics. We will begin with a little bit of marketing and athletics, if you don't mind. I have left on your areas the printout of the vest for a rodeo team that we've designed and are putting together. And I just wanted to, that wasn't available to put into the board report when I was building it, but so I just wanted to show you the images so you get a good look and can see what that looks like as that design is coming together, which is very good. There's a couple reports tonight within my student affairs report, and so I'll try to make this a little brief on this area. We are very excited about the student events that are coming up. Academics has done a fantastic job of putting these together. I do want to clarify that these are opportunities that academics and faculty have put together for our students and for their benefit. And so working closely with academics, I think, is incredibly beneficial to our student success. And so we're able to actually produce more, partnering with our faculty and utilizing those resources. We, in the same way, have utilized a couple things towards the back. We've utilized their recruiting efforts as well. We're very proud to see Mr. Gene Ross attend a recruiting opportunity at Albuquerque High School. I was teaching a class there, and they reported that they were able to have teachers from UNM and others that came through as well that were present there and teaching on campus as well, but with our silversmithing. So it was exciting to see the opportunity that he had to share the art form there with those students, and then the opportunity. He also took his own students, which is a part again of that SIAM grant as well. So he took his own students as well that were there to help instruct those students in Albuquerque. So we were really pleased with that. Nate Glaspie, want to say thank you to him as well, working with Mr. Gene Ross and several other students as they took him up there. And again, some of the notable visitors that had been there and seen what went on. The teachers are thrilled and excited from the reports that we got. So that's really great. Again, the opportunities that we have with faculty going out to high schools and doing instruction on site enables them to build relationships with students and provide real life, opportunities and showing them what they can do with their skills in art and how they can also develop those helps them to be more successful. We do have on Thursday, Mountaineers coming through for a tour. We're excited to have them on campus. I always encourage tourists to come and visit firsthand what's going on. Mr. Kaiser also talked about the correctional facilities as we're dealing with registration. We have gotten the schedules out early, and we're very excited about that, where we know some of the biggest challenges that we have come across with corrections is just, getting the materials to the correction facilities, and then getting the schedule out. So those are two things that we're working very hard to streamline and be efficient. And one of the efforts that we did was have the training. This is the second training today. There'll be a third training coming up for the educational coordinators at each of these facilities. And so if they do a lot of the legwork and conversations with the inmates prior, then they're able to have that paperwork prepared and ready so that our team registration can then very easily bring it in and get the students registered. And that's also important with the Opportunity Scholarship in order to process that. So that's been very successful. Very excited about that as well. And I believe those are the things that I wanted to highlight. We've had several student activities for Native American Heritage Month, the Dene Talk cultural program that came through. We're we enjoyed it very much. Had a good turnout of people that came and enjoyed that, as well as others that we've been able to have participating on campus. I'm going to move now, or I'll take questions if you have questions. Next.
Anybody have any questions for McVeigh?
So now I'd like to move quickly into our strategic enrollment management plan that you all have. The strategic enrollment management plan that we approved last month, it's the same material that is in this plan. This has been branded, but it's also a bit more detailed. So if you'll notice, the one that I gave to you last month was a summary. HED has asked us to follow a template that they have given to us, and so that template is what you have now. So it's going into more detail regarding the demographics of our county, Coy County and Tucumcari, and then others that we also serve as well, looking at different jobs, asking questions about how do we choose our programs, where we base those decisions off of, how is it that we choose to continue with a program. So if you'll notice as you're going through here, you can see one of the first things is the enrollment trends and what our future goals are going to be. You can see that our 5-year percentage change has been 39% in decrease over 5 years. We've had some challenges here along the way. I am happy that we're not at the 50% range, and there are some that are at the 50%, but we're not. And we are pulling out of, as we've discussed previously, of our decline. We are now 14% above where we were a year ago. So our enrollment is increasing. We see our faculty getting out more. Again, we have part of our strategic plan is to encourage we have a recruiter, which we haven't had for 4 years. We're encouraging our faculty to build relationships with the high schools and those opportunities there to bring the students in. And looking at our strategic enrollment plan and our numbers that we've seen, we have seen that our weak places are bringing students in from high school into the college. Our weak places are having students on campus. And so these are things that in our strategic plan we acknowledge, and we also developed plans to help to bridge that gap. Again, what I've talked about with faculty and building those relationships. Also looking at our programs. As we go through here, you can see the different programs are listed there, and you can see their numbers based on what students are pursuing, which ones are more popular, how they've sustained over the years leading up to 2024. And so it gives us a better understanding on what programs, what are those trends, and then looking back at seeing what made a difference on each of those and how we can continue to move forward in increasing those enrollment numbers and helping those programs. And also it helps us to see what's working and what's not, what may need to be cut and what's not being cost effective. What does our community need? How can we, again, reach out and create things that are going to be beneficial for them? You can see that the top 10 fastest growing occupations are listed here as well. On the top is, of course, wind energy technician. So these are the fastest growing. They're going to be adding in the next 10 years. They're going to see over 60% growth in the next 10 years in the wind energy sector. They'll also be seeing, the next one is health. Health is going to be seeing over 40% growth. So again, the two areas that we have, major areas that make us unique, but are also things that we're very good at and are becoming even better at, are some of the programs that are going to be growing. So we're very excited about that and looking forward to that in the future as well. Of course, we want to serve our students, and you can see there as we move into page 9, what we do offer our students. Not only is it important to increase our enrollment and bring students in, but again, we want to focus on completion. We don't want our students to use up their financial aid before they complete. We want to make sure that they're moving into a place that's going to bring them to a career and a completion that's going to actually help them be more profitable in their lifetime and give them security and success that they come to us looking for. In doing that, we've again created pathways, and our programs are also being better communicated. We're getting those online. We're communicating those to the students in a way that gives them a few choices so that they don't get confused or lost. We want to reduce it so that they understand what paths they can take to be successful, how they can transfer it with MOUs that we have with New Mexico State, UNM, and other colleges, ENMU, in the state, to bring them into a 4-year degree if they so choose. And then also we have the workforce, as Mr. Kaiser has shared earlier, that is being developed further and coming out very strong. We're very excited about workforce opportunities that we have with our industry partners such as Impact Wind. Again, we are now building a relationship with Leeward Energy, which of course they do not only wind, but they also do solar. And we've had meetings with them regarding their willingness to send their professionals to come and share with our students in real time and hands-on training here on campus. But also they want to financially help out, and we've had conversations regarding that, scholarships and things like that. So those are exciting opportunities. But again, part of the strategic enrollment management plan looking forward is how do we take advantage of those, and then how do we utilize them, and how do we work as efficiently as possible. The last page there shows you, on page 12, is the graph there, chart that shows us our demographics, but also it shows some projections. We do have the enrollment cliff that we've talked about previously coming up, but I believe that if we, with our unique programs that we have, and then of our continued support of faculty, reaching out to students in high schools, I think that we will be able to, and then again, workforce and the opportunities that that's providing us, I think we have real potential, real opportunities to continue to grow and move in a good direction for our students and their success. But that's a lot, so it was a rather large document. So.
Lots of information, great information, and very good work, I think.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any questions about the strategic enrollment management plan? So then,
That's good.
very good.
Thank you very much. So that I will now turn this over to Ms. Gonzalez, as she's going to be giving us our yearly financial aid report.
Right.
Thank you very much for all your work.
Good evening, everyone. Each year I present our annual financial aid report, and this is the financial aid that is awarded to students. I usually give a 5-year snapshot of the funding sources, and the students affected or benefited from those funds. So this year the report goes back to 2019-2020. So right now we're looking at 23-24. Federal funds we received or awarded, $607,217. Federal funds include Pell Grant, direct loans, federal work study, VA benefits, education benefits, SEOG, PERF funding, and AmeriCorps. For state funding, in 23-24, we received $408,381. That includes the SSIG grant, lottery scholarship, state work study, DVR program, opportunity scholarship, and legislative endowment funds. Institutional funds, we awarded $93,680, which includes scholarships, such as the Bridge Scholarship and institutional work study, because we are required to provide an institutional component of work study allocations. For third party, that's basically everybody that falls outside of those three groups. It's going to include tribal funds, private loans, private scholarships, as well as our foundation scholarships. And in 23-24, we awarded $46,854. So for a total for 23-24, we have awarded $1,156,132, and 359 students benefited. These are unduplicated numbers. So many times a student, if you start looking at some of the numbers, it'll show like 700-800 students, but that's because they have received it in the fall, they have received it in the spring, and then some potentially receive it in the summer. The reason you see a big increase last year, the 22-23 funding in the federal area, is because we awarded the last $300,000 of HERF funding that we still had that had to be pushed out to the students. And so that's why you see kind of that $300,000 decline in federal funds, but we have exhausted all the student portion of the HERF funding. There is no more to disperse. I also, starting last year, I provided the 24-25 snapshot of where we are right now at this point. So right now we have awarded or anticipate to award $619,000 in federal funds, over $220,000 in state funding. Keep in mind that doesn't include work study, and that does not include spring and summer opportunity scholarship. So that should jump up over the $400,000 for when we get to the end of the year reporting. Institutional, we're at about $58,000, and third party, we're at a little bit over $14,000. So again, those are outside scholarships. So right now, already just mid-year, one semester in, we're already at $912,000, either estimated award for spring and awarded for the fall, and we're at 265 students so far.
So that will only get bigger?
Yes.
The number of students?
Yes. Yeah, the number of students will raise as well, because those are just a snapshot of 265 students that Sabrina and I are working with now. And then there's going to be unduplicated students that'll occur in the fall, in the spring, and then of course in the summer. Because for financial aid purposes, we look at fall, spring, summer, whereas academics starts summer, fall, spring. So it's kind of an overlapping and it's really confusing. But, now that we have the ability and opportunity to provide financial aid to our correctional students, that's where we saw the huge increase to our numbers for students being impacted and benefiting from financial aid. So it's always great to give away money. I love being able to give it away. Then the business office has to take it away. So, but, for a short time, I'm the nice lady. So I will stand for any questions.
So on that students benefit, do you think it'll be close to the 359 for this year?
I do, only because I anticipate that we're going to have more correctional students coming back into the correctional program. For the fall semester, I believe we were right at maybe 230 students, part-time, full-time. And of course, that doesn't reflect, because you have to remember, not all students get financial aid. And this does include incarcerated and main campus. But there's more students that are going to become eligible in the spring for additional, more nursing cohorts that will start in the spring. Additional, we may not see a financial aid funding, but workforce funding, there's going to be a big surplus of students coming in from that, with agreements and when So I foresee that the students will easily get at or around the same as last year, so 350 to 375. I always try to anticipate about a 6% growth in financial aid numbers when I report to the state as to what I anticipate my awards will be for lottery, opportunity, scholarship, because it's not a huge, oh yeah, we're gonna grow 40% and then we never reach that goal. I'd rather set those smaller goals, reach them and exceed them, so typically we anticipate about 6%.
Any questions?
Alright.
Very
Thank you
good
so much.
report, thank you for all that you do. Next is Administrative Affairs, Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I'd like to start tonight with some of the updates that have been going on to the business office. Some of it might be repetitive from Dr. Moss's report, but I do want to reiterate some of these things just to show the importance and appreciation to staff. So the college bookstore has now been relocated and is fully open in Building A. So make sure to head down that way and get some of that apparel. We're having a Black Friday kind of early bird special, so all those listening, make sure to get out and visit our bookstore to support the college. I also want to thank all of our facilities maintenance crew as well as IT. They moved extremely quickly. I was gone one day, and to my surprise, like Dr. Moss, the business office was completely relocated to the old bookstore here in Building G, so I'd like to thank them for all their continued efforts and all the hard work they've been doing. Business office has been extremely busy. We continue to move forward. We're moving very quickly to update old, outdated policies, make sure we're in compliance with state statute, but also updating some of our policies that might be outdated or kind of paint us in a corner that make day-to-day operations a little bit more difficult. So I'm currently reviewing the administrative handbook, and I hope to have some updates by the December meeting, which is just a couple of weeks, so it'd be a lot in a short period of time, but I'm going to do my best to update some of those and emphasize on some things that, as you've seen now with the audit that was just completed, the FY23 audit, emphasis on some of those findings to clear things up. So maybe revisit some things with travel and per diem, work on those things just to make sure we're up to date and moving forward that we have policies in place to make our lives a little bit easier. We also had the FY24 entrance conference, attended that. Wow, it's amazing how quickly things have been moving in all areas and all the divisions, but to give an example, just a week ago when this report was typed up, so many things have changed. Another is the accounts receivable specialist position that we had vacant. We have conducted interviews and a recommendation was made, and I believe we'll have a new hire starting December 3rd. So again, things are moving quickly. We're getting some of these vacant positions filled with people with experience, which is great to help us to continue to be successful. Now I'll kind of touch on the insurance claim to the roofing project on Building A as well as Building E. I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Tim Davis from J3 Systems, and it seems like all documentation has been secured with the exception of the permit from New Mexico Constructions Industries Division. So with that, once that's obtained, we're expecting to have that permit hopefully, if not the end of this week, hopefully next week. Then we'll schedule a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and also talk about potential upcoming scheduling for the construction of those projects. One important thing to note is Building A's roof will be replaced first. Right now, a tentative schedule is trying to get that done during our winter break, since we'll be out 3 weeks, closed to the public. And that helps because that'll help minimize, that building would be disrupted the most if we did that during session, because there's students and staff and faculty that would be in those areas. And in doing that, they're going to be removing the HVAC units to go through and repair that section of the roof or replace it. And it just opens up a lot of disruptions, whether it's noise, so those may be testing, disrupting classes, as well as when those HVAC units are removed, you're going to have a lot of cool air draft going through the building until they're replaced. So we're going to try to tackle that during the winter break. We've also had the HVAC units installed on Building A over room 119 that have been out for some time, and then the old armory on the far end, the south end. And I know the strong seniors are happy to see that replaced. They're able to move back into the classroom they had been utilizing. So I'm happy to announce that that's finally been completed. We've also been working on the wind turbine that's been down for quite some time. We did receive an AEBI board that was installed. However, that did not resolve the issue of trying to get that thing up and going again. So we're continuing to troubleshoot, look into other areas. I know one of the things is maybe the laptop and communications to the SCADA system. So I'll be scheduling some meetings potentially with GE to try to figure out what's going on there, what we need to do to update software, SCADA stuff, that nature to get that thing up and going again. Going back into some of the maintenance, they've been busy installing the exit signs and emergency lights throughout campus, something we had discussed previously from our fire inspection. They're also installing new lighting throughout Building A in different phases, just what we could do within our means and within our budget and handle internally. So for example, throughout the hallways in Building A, they've installed and replaced the old fluorescent light bulbs with LED light bulbs. And they're planning to do the same in the great room, and that also has returned by reduced energy. The 15 passenger van that we utilize for different things, the golf tournament's been utilizing it for some of their tournaments. Now that their season has wound down for the fall semester, we'll be submitting, speaking with the same company that repaired the front end to repair the passenger side, so that should be going out to the body shop shortly. And then the last thing I have is just a reminder for all those that want to sign up for a fitness center. We will be running our promotion again with the upcoming holidays, that if you purchase a gym membership from January through May, you'll get June for free. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Martinez?
I just want to say that the strong seniors, we're really glad to get back in the classroom. So, thank you.
We're glad to have them, so I'm happy to get that situated finally.
Thank you for the report. Thank you
What,
for
let
everything.
me ask a question. What's the backup plan if you have bad weather during the winter break?
The backup plan is to push it back till we have good enough weather. Thankfully, so far it's been mild, so I'm hoping during winter break it doesn't get too ugly. I've expressed the importance of trying to get both roofing projects completed as soon as possible. We have had a little bit of moisture lately within the past couple of weeks, and it's showing the weak spots. Unfortunately, they're not going to come out and do little quick repairs knowing that they're going to replace the entire roof itself. J3 has been great as far as Building E. I know to this point they have done some small repairs to minimize the leaking, and to my knowledge, specifically over the Bay Area where we have all the training equipment for the wind energy program, I have not witnessed any large leaks around the skylights that were the issue previously. So it is on the radar to note that the longer we prolong this, the more additional damage or potential for additional damage that could be created. But yes, sir, the best we can do is just hope that we have great weather during that time. If not, then we'll have to push it back. Yes.
All right, any other questions? Mr. Martinez, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Next is Mr. Garcia, Governing Senate.
Good evening, everybody.
Very good.
Good. So I just wanted to go over a few things like with our adult education program, some highlights and some events that are coming up with that in the Honors College. So as of right now, we have 9 students that have completed their high school equivalency with us since July 1st. And we have 2 more that are going to be taking their last sub-test tomorrow for the high set. So hopefully at this time tomorrow we'll be up to 11 graduates. Big highlight we had here recently was our most recent high school equivalency graduate was also our first ESL student to complete their high school equivalency. And she came to us last fall as a ESL student, wanting to improve her English skills, and she actually completed her high school equivalency last week. So she was our first student to complete that out of our ESL class. So she's been helping us with some other ESL students that are also pursuing their high school equivalency. And We have 2 more that are currently testing from ESL. And one of the students only has 1 test left and another one has 2 sub-tests left. So we're hoping to get 3 graduates there out of the ESL that are gonna be completing their high school equivalency. So that was a big moment we have been working on. You know, these ESL students come to class 2-3 nights a week. They've been doing really well. I want to thank Dr. Edwards and Simon Chavez for all the work they've done with our ESL students. And they really helped us get these ESL students to this point where they can pursue high school equivalency with us. And Simon's been doing like some math tutoring with them as well, helping them complete their math sub-test. And then also want to thank Ms. Nikki Vasquez too. She's our high set test administrator. And she works really well with getting these dates and times set up for these students to complete their tests. So that's a big goal we were working in with our program, was to get these ESL students their high school equivalency. The Honors College, as Mr. Kaiser said, is going to have their poster presentation December 3rd. It's a Tuesday night from 5 to 6. As of right now, we have 5 honor students, and they'll be presenting a total of 9 projects. So we invite you guys to come out that night, view their posters. They've done a lot of hard work, a lot of research, and we'll have some hot chocolate and cookies that night for everybody that comes out. We're going to be doing that same week on Thursday night, December 5th, we'll have the potluck for our ESL class. That's their last class for the semester. So we invite everybody to come out that night from 5 to 6. That'll actually be from 6 to 7 for ESL potluck. I know Mr. Kaiser went last year and they had a big spread of a lot of different foods.
I'll be going back.
A lot of good food at the potluck. So that Thursday night, December 5th, is when that'll be taking place, and that'll be in the classroom, room A123. So that'll be going on, and then we'll be helping out tomorrow with the exam tram that's going on in the great room. You know, we'll be available for any tutoring or anything we can help on with that. So our adult ed program will be taking part in that also. And those are just a few of the things I wanted to highlight. So I'll take any questions right now if there are any.
Any questions for Mr. Garcia?
I have a question. The ESL students that are also taking the equivalent
High school equivalency. Mhm.
Do they test in English or is it a bilingual program or just
They have the
English?
option to test in English or in Spanish. They can take the high set in Spanish, and that's what these students have been
are
doing.
doing? Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah, they have that option to take their tests.
That's good.
Yep, so that helps out too. Because they are learning English a lot better, but there's still maybe words that they're unfamiliar with. So, but yeah, they have that option to do it in Spanish. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks a lot.
All right,
Good
thank you.
report. Thanks for all you did. Next on the agenda is the executive session. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So
Go ahead.
I move.
All right. And a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
9 o'clock, getting close, not that time. Good to go? All right, we'll reconvene from the executive session. Roll call, please. Do I need a motion?
Yeah, you need a motion. I make a motion.
All right. Got a motion and a second to reconvene from executive session. Roll call, please.
Mr. Box?
Yes.
Mr. Primrose?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell?
Yes.
And Mr. Sandoval?
Yes.
Motion carried.
There was no action in executive session. No correspondence. Dates, November 25th to the 28th is Thanksgiving break. College closed, and Mr. Kaiser's got a whole lot of laundry list of events that's going on.
I took a picture.
Yeah, I need to do that too. Tuesday, December 10th will be our next trustees meeting here at 5:30.
December when?
December 10th
Oh, 10th, I thought you said second.
at 10.
I was gonna say, well, that's quick.
AC, the board training, I got an email and I was gonna bring it and I had to go get my pickup. Anyway, we talked about, at some point in time when hopefully the college will be able to send, some trustees to the ACCT conference, and I got an email just before, this afternoon. They're having it, and it's kind of expensive, but we need to, we'll probably have to wait until we get financially able to do that, but I think that's one of the things that we need to look at is going to
They're not allowed to go
ACC
into those meetings.
the conference, because I know in my previous time, those conferences are very educational, and we'll try and do that.
I think the main conference was like last week or the week before, and so we definitely need to look at that for next November, October, November. And then sometime during the year, there's a legislative, ACCT legislative session in Washington, D.C. And so I'll try to keep an eye out for when that date comes up. Maybe we could, and work toward getting where we could handle that.
So that's all I have for the training. So if there's not any other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Primrose?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.